Welcome to another Mortgage Coach coaching call. Every Tuesday morning, we're here to connect as a community. I've got some awesome special guests, and I'm also in a really cool place. I'm in Bellevue, Washington, and I'm here with Dan Keller.
Good morning.
All right, so I've got two other great guests that I'm going to introduce in just 1 second. Again, for those of you that are your first time at a Mortgage Coach call, my name is Dave Savage, and we are totally dedicated to your personal and your professional success. They closely align. And for 15 years now, we've been delivering a better mortgage experience to families who are making mortgage decisions. And one of the halo effects is we're delivering value to realtors. So this call is going to be about how we're delivering that value to realtors. The quote that I really focused on last week, I thought, let's bring it back this week because it's such a great quote around good teachers explain, superior teachers demonstrate, and great teachers inspire. And when it comes to earning rapid trust and respect with realtors, you need to inspire them. You need to connect at an emotional level. And obviously, we're in the mortgage business, so we need to connect at a logical level. You know, we're bringing the numbers, and to be able to do that in a way that's, I don't know, it's cool, it's emotional, is a good thing. So this call started with me inviting Robert Ring to the call. The backstory on Robert is he's young. I mean, I think he looks like he's in high school. Hopefully that's a compliment, Robert. I know I wish people would say that to me. But, hey, how long have you been in the business, Robert?
2 years.
Yeah, so I mean, we're talking young, new in the business, and what kind of production level do you think you're going to hit this year?
This year, I think I'm on target to hit about 30 million, at least.
So, and he's a top producer. He had a great year last year. I mean, this guy is successful. And I told him when I met him at a Todd Duncan boot camp, or did we meet at Mastery for the first time, Robert, or was it at boot camp where I met you for the first time?
I may have met you briefly when I signed up for Mortgage Coach at Mastery, but boot camp is where we had a real good conversation about this call.
Yeah, and I'm just like, you know, you are doing more business than, 80% of the industry, and you've only been in the business for 2 years. So to me, that's a story all on its own. And then the fact that you're 23 and you look like you're 16 is like, I mean, wow. But when this guy starts talking, you immediately go, he knows what he's talking about. So it's going to be a great story. Now, I thought it would be really cool to not only interview Robert, but to bring a Gen X, Dan Keller. Needs no introduction. Everybody knows him. And I didn't want to be the only 50 plus, although I just turned 50. I didn't want to be the only old guy in the call, so I brought, one of my good personal friends and, longtime iconic mortgage coach, Eric Union. Eric, welcome to the call.
Thanks, Dave. Great to be here.
Good. So this call is just about how to have mobile conversations with realtors, which is a millennial thing to do. I mean, millennials do that naturally. Gen Xers do it easily. I am just not your normal baby boomer. And Eric, I don't know if you're normal either, but this is not something that, we're not just born with a mobile phone in our hand. It's different. So I just think it brings three perspectives. And at the end of the day, having mobile conversations is important, and it's a huge differentiator. So we're going to focus on that. Before I do that, I do want to, acknowledge some of our upcoming coaching calls, and I want to just acknowledge this month. I mean, epic month in Mortgage Coach land. Darren Hardy, Tom Ferry, Phil Black. Now we've got Millennial Robert, Dan and Eric, and next week we've got one of the top producing teams doing over $100 million a year in production, the Gaylord Hanson team in San Diego on the call. So just a great month. Don't miss next week's call. It's going to be very much about scripts and systems. So come back, check us out next week. A couple reminders from Phil Black last week. If you did not watch this call, he laid out a framework about how to just increase your energy. To me, my favorite quote, I said it to my kids when I got home. I've been saying this quote to myself like multiple times a day. People don't want your time. People want your energy. People want your energy, not your time. And so I think that's just an important quote. Wanted to remind everybody to be thinking about that. Todd Duncan made a comment around how your success is what you get done during your job. And then I riffed it on that, and I talked about making sure that you measure your high-value touch points every day. And as leader of the Mortgage Coach community, I think when you deliver a TCA, a Mortgage Coach total cost experience, That's a really high value touch point. How many times are you doing that today? And I think we're raising the bar. How many mobile total cost touch points are you driving per week? That's where the impact is. That's where you start really driving value in the marketplace. Dan, you were on that call. Anything you want to add before we move on?
Yeah, I think I tweeted right after that, and then I put another quote up on Instagram. 85% of your financial success is due to your personality and ability to communicate, negotiate, and lead. Shockingly, 15% is due to technical advantage. So people buy your energy. People buy you.
Beautiful. So anyways, great call. Robert, were you on that call by any chance?
I was.
Any quick comments before we finish our debrief on it? Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of respect for Phil Black. He's a neat guy. When you're not putting forth the energy that you need to into your work and your time with your clients, you're really stretching yourself out and not being productive, and your efficiency goes down. So the things that he taught us, in deep breathing techniques and kind of combining those points that he mentioned, really helped make the time that we spend during our high value touch points, and increasing our energy with our clients to, really money in your pockets. Because if you can close a sale by, utilizing the things that he talked about, you don't have to spend as much time doing it, and that's neat.
Right on. Yeah, I think I'm going to make a quick hit out of the first 20 to 30 minutes of the call, because it really, not only did he, give us some ideas and insight, he walked us through some exercises to increase energy. So just a good mortgage coach quick hit. If you missed that call, don't miss it. Check out the recording. So let's get with the focus. The focus is, how do we have a mobile conversation with realtors? And I use the example in a coffee house. If I'm having a conversation with you in a Starbucks, how can I not only tell you, but show you in a way that connects how you think, emotionally, and it gets you to do something. So we're really going to focus on that. Again, at Mortgage Coach, we've been talking about how to sell to millennials for a long time. I had Scott Cummings. This is an actual video of him having a Mortgage Coach conversation in a coffee shop, and we talked about how he's delivering mobile experiences to his clients. We did it both in a coffee shop and we did it in his office. So I thought that was a great conversation. We've had Jeremy Forcier on here, and we've talked about how he's delivering a live experience in a real estate office. So I just think, this is a great opportunity for everybody. Today's call, I don't want to say put away your mobile phones. Pick up your mobile phones, but let's not email. Let's focus on Mortgage Coach for the next 40, 50 minutes, and let's talk about what it would be like to use Rate Watch, so that when you're telling people about interest rates, you can not only, tell them about interest rates, you can show it. So it's show and tell. So again, pick up your phone, and there'll be a couple opportunities. By the way, unfortunately, today it's red, so my apologies, everybody. Mortgage Coach, I wish this could be green today, but it's not. So let's get ready to just go through and deliver mobile experiences. So our first guest is Robert Ring. Robert, before I get into that, I'd like to know, is everybody on the call, are you having mobile conversations with your clients? So I'm going to push a quick poll question. Are you having mobile conversations with realtors? Yes or no? So let's just get a feel for how many people are meeting with a realtor, they're pulling out their mobile device, and they're talking about it. So Eric Union, any guesses on what percentage of the Mortgage Coach tribe is going to say yes to this?
20.
All right. I'm not going to ask you, Dan, because he's got organizer access. Robert, what's your guess?
Yeah, 10%.
Wow. Well, guys, this is a proud moment, because this means that these calls are having impact. I am proud to say that the results are 15 or 49% said yes. So a lot of you guys are doing this. So, kudos to everybody on the call that's doing this, and for everybody that's not, great opportunity to find out why you should do it and get some ideas. If you could go into the questions, and if you could let me know how you're doing it. What are some of the, what are you showing people when you're out in the field and you're having mobile conversations? What is it? Is it a rent versus own? Is it I use RateWatch to show realtors? What are the mobile conversations you're having? Please put those in the questions section. So now, Robert, I'm going to pass the screen over to you because you and I are going to, not only are you going to tell your story, but you are going to walk us through how you're having mobile conversations. But why don't we start with your story, Robert?
Okay. Well, I used to be a waiter, just did odd jobs, and then I got recruited into the mortgage industry at 21. Did a lot of cold calling, a lot of refis, and then met my new boss who helped me restructure my business and go after realtors, do purchase business. I got plugged in with Todd Duncan, started using Mortgage Coach. Last year was really a turning point for me. I went from doing 2 loans up until June of last year. Then I met my new boss, got everything turned around. By December, I closed 31 loans for the year. And, most of my business is purchase business now. So it was a really exciting, change, and, I owe it to a number of people, but, this is one of the tools that I use to really help me, continue to get business, show people that I know what I'm talking about, help them understand what they're getting into, and, at the end of the day, close the sale and have a customer for life.
Right on. How many loans do you expect to close this month?
This month, 6.
Got it. All right. So again, young, new in the business, and he's building credibility. Now, when you're having mobile conversations, do you find that more of the referral partners that you're working with are closer to your age, or are your clients and the people that are referring you business, all ages?
Really all ages. I mean, when I'm working with people that are older than me, a lot of times they ask me to sit with them and teach them how to use technology, and that can be a little bit of a big task for some people, but when I connected with younger realtors and referral partners, they really like this sort of thing, especially financial advisors. When I can do a reinvestment strategy, they eat that up, and that's really what I'm looking for, people that are excited about technology, are plugged in, and can refer me business.
Nice. And just so we kind of know from your perspective, what are some of the technologies that you have on your mobile device? Like, I just like to kind of get a feel for a millennial, young 20-year-old in the mortgage business. What are you doing? Are you using Instagram, Snapchat? What are you doing?
Oh yeah. I'm on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Snapchat. That's kind of a texting one. Just kind of all the stuff that the young people are on. I still do all those things, and I try and integrate with my business when I can.
Got it. And you think when you think of the younger realtors that are coming into the marketplace and the millennial home buyers, what percentage of them do you think are using their smartphones in all the ways that you are?
Oh, I think most of them. Most of the people that I meet, if I meet them or they kind of get a feel that I'm a younger guy, they'll usually start texting me just without even asking. So that's a nice way to kind of carry a client through, especially if you're trying to win them over. If they know they can send you a text message and you can respond, especially if you can shoot them back a Mortgage Coach link, that really impresses them. So, yeah.
So one thing I just want to kind of impress and get everybody to really connect with, and Eric, when we think of, and I think of my friends that are 50 plus, yes, they use text. So everybody in the world now uses text, but they're not watching videos the way the younger generation is. My son is a lacrosse player. He has learned so many things by watching YouTube videos. I always looking around. He's watching a YouTube video, learning how to improve his face-off skills, or learning how to string his lacrosse net in a different way. And so the younger generation, living on their phones. It's video, it's mobile, and again, I'm not going to get into all the stats and facts because we've covered that in other calls. But we're talking over the next 5 years, 70% of the home buyers. This year, 30% are millennials. And so, for anybody that's 50 plus, and a lot of great realtors are coming into the market that are young, you need to tune in and you need to be able to build these competencies. Dan, anything you want to add before we continue?
Yeah, the biggest thing is, like what you just said with your son, I'm real big. I live up here in Seattle in the Puget Sound fishing, and so there's a fishery this year, winter king salmon fishing. I've never done it before, and if I'm going to go out in the cold and the rain, I'm going to do this thing right, and I'm going to catch a couple hogs. I learned how to do it on YouTube, and so I learned how to troll, where to go, what to use, and so I'm going to say the same thing. Wherever you're going, for information, your next client's going there too. You've got to be there.
Right. Now, Eric Union, you've been using Mortgage Coach for a long time. You use videos. Any questions for Robert or anything you want to kind of weigh in at this point?
Robert, do you ever go into a full-blown analysis with a client, or do you use it just to set the hook?
No, I go into the full analysis. Yeah, oftentimes. I mean, if I'm having them in for the initial meeting, I'll do that. I did that recently at a restaurant when I was sitting at the bar having some dinner, and there were some people next to me that owned 7 houses. I just pulled out my Mortgage Coach and I said, look at this. This is similar to what you could be doing right now, and gives them a really easy grasp on their options for refinancing in that case. Yeah.
So you'll try to go right into it in the restaurant, or will you try to use it to schedule an appointment for them to come in and do a full consultation?
Well, that's obviously the goal. I want to get them in for the full consultation. But a lot of times I'll send them the link, and then they'll email me with questions like, well, what's the closing cost, or what's this? And I'll be like, well, go on the link, hit the payment breakdown button, or hit the closing cost breakdown button, and I just kind of drive them back to the link. And then before I know it, I'll get these little emails. Somebody's viewing your presentation. Boom, boom, and I know they're watching it. And that's kind of cool, because I've had it where, like, we got into contract one time at like 10 o'clock at night, and the price was jumping all over the place, where the offer was and the counter offer. And so I got an update that we got into contract. Well, I get an email like 10 o'clock at night, somebody viewed the presentation, and I knew it was the client. So I updated the presentation, which it updates automatically if they're watching it, and I emailed them. I said, hey, I just want to let you know, I updated it to reflect your current purchase price and the details of the transaction. And they loved that. I mean, they were just like, wow, you're so fast. And I didn't tell them I had an alert that they were looking at it, so they didn't see that side of it, but it makes you look good as a mortgage professional. And Dave, funny you were talking about watching YouTube videos to learn things. My number one referral partner I got because I had a buyer who bought his condo, and she would not close because the toilet was broken. So I said, okay, I drove out there and I met him at the house at like 8 o'clock at night. He said, do you know how to fix this? I said, I've done construction, but let's YouTube it. So I'm sitting there at 8:30 and I'm YouTubing how to fix a wax seal on a toilet. Well, we gave up and he called a plumber, but he ended up using me. He's a young guy. He loves Mortgage Coach, and he loves these links I send him. And all the clients I get from him are usually 25 to 35, and like you said, 30% of the home buyers are millennials. That's where probably the biggest portion of my referral business comes from.
Beautiful. Well, great. So there's a lot we can learn from you, and again, I asked Eric and Dan in because let's all learn from each other. So let's get into the realtor conversation, and I think it's like Eric said, this is not a borrower consultation. This is where you're trying to take and position yourself as a mobile savvy, using technology to deliver value and success, and you want to be able to present that to a realtor. So Robert, let's kind of pretend that we're in a coffee shop. We don't need to necessarily role play, but I'll be the realtor. We'll be a team. Okay. We're a real estate team, and we're big producers. And let's just pretend we're at a Starbucks, and you're trying to show us, well, you're telling us why we should do business with you in the context as a mortgage coach, and you're showing us. So kind of what would that look like? What would you show on the app, and what would that conversation feel like?
Sure. Well, my main strategy for getting appointments with realtors is presenting a unique value proposition as instructed by Todd Duncan. But if I was on the fly, I was sitting down with you at a coffee shop and you were a realtor, and I was showing you some things that I would offer, your clients if you worked with me, I'd bring up this app and I would just lay it out. Look at this. You have a clear, concise presentation for your clients of the mortgage options before they're purchasing a home. So let's just go into the summary page. Here they can see I'm doing a rent versus own. So giving something to help motivate their clients to stop renting and putting their money down the drain and start putting it into equity. And then if we move over to the right here, I'll show 2 basic illustrations at no points, no cost. Maybe something we're really familiar with, something clients maybe have a hard time with. And I'll just break it down. And it's super simple. They can scroll through this. It shows them the rate, the APR, the length of the loan, their monthly payment. And if we go down here, you'll see the cash to close difference. So it really lays it side by side for the clients. It helps you, look into your realtor, because it creates this kind of team feel. Like, John Byer comes over and meets with us, it's a one-stop shop. He's not going to look at another lenders, other realtors, because we help him stay fascinated with the tools that we offer, so he doesn't want to go anywhere else. If we get into the details of this, it really covers all the bases. You have the payment breakdown, you have the closing cost breakdown. I even put in a reinvestment strategy, for some of the more savvy clients that have some money in the bank. For this gentleman in particular, the no points versus no cost. I think no cost really makes a lot of sense for him. He invests a lot of his money. If he does no cost, he's going to leave more money in his pocket. He can invest that in a conservative investment account. And I illustrated that here. So this is his savings balance, $230, would be his approximate balance on the no points option. So that's if he pays the closing costs. Looking over here to the right, $234, it would be his savings balance if he had me pay the closing costs in the rate by giving me a slightly higher rate. Leaving that in a conservative investment account that yields 4%, maybe a municipal bond or something like that. Over 15 years, you can see, that would accumulate to $418 in the one with the no points and $4 in the one with no cost. So that's going to be $7,000 over the long run, which right there, exceeds the amount in closing costs. And then beyond that, there's another spot here that I want to show you where we do I think it's in the payment breakdown. No, I'm going to go back to the home screen. We're going to go tax benefit analysis. This is pretty cool. A lot of people want to know how to save on taxes, especially if they're in that really high tax bracket, which this gentleman is. You can see that over 5 years, he's going to save. He's going to have a $40,000, 316, tax benefit by taking the no cost option, and a $39,413 tax benefit by taking the no point option. So really, if he's being smart with his money and he's utilizing this link that I've given him, he's doing his homework, he's going to see how to better, put his money to work, for his long-term interest. And I can tell that's what he's looking for. If he's looking to buy a home, he's putting down 20%, and he's already invested a lot of money. So I want to keep that in mind and kind of tailor each of those presentations to, my client's goals.
Beautiful. If you could show everybody how to share that, because I think it's a best practice. If you're meeting with a realtor, you want to forward this link to them so that one, they have the app downloaded, and two, they've got your case study in their back pocket. So could you show everybody how to do that?
Absolutely. So I'm just going to go up here to the top left corner. I'm going to hit share report, and I can email it. I can text message it. This little link will pop up in the email. If anybody clicks on that from a mobile device, an Apple device for sure, it'll bring them to the App Store where they can download the Mortgage Coach app to view it in that app. If you're on a computer, it'll bring up the preview on your browser. For Android devices, I believe there's an app for it as well. So it's really easy to interface with. Very simple.
Nice, nice. Well, I'm gonna take back the screen. Thanks for sharing your desktop and walking us through how you're delivering mortgage advice. I think that was super simple, everybody. And we're gonna walk through a few more, call it mortgage experiences, so that you guys know how to do that. If you could confirm that you can see my screen. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
So this is an example of where someone could have clicked on it from their mobile device, from their desktop, and two, they could be getting, the link below is just a Facebook direct message. So whether you want to Facebook it, whether you want to text it, however you want to get that message, I think the message is when you're meeting with people out in public and you're having conversations, you now have a mortgage experience in your back pocket. And so it's important, and I don't think it's it could be no more than a 5-minute conversation, and in many cases it's no more than a 1-minute conversation. Robert, when you're having the Mortgage Coach conversation with a mobile device, how long is that usually?
5 minutes.
Okay, so 5 minutes at the max, and it could just be as simple as, again, it's not about the technology, it's about the story. You're telling a story, you're walking them through the options, you're showing them graphs and charts, you're flipping through it. Would you like me to email this to you, or would you like me to text it? So it's about telling stories, and sharing stories. So I mean, at the end of the day, when you think of the app, you need to start thinking about it in the context of a realtor. It's a storytelling solution. Now, when you're meeting with the buyer, it's an advice tool. You're interviewing them, you're understanding their needs, and you're tailoring financial strategies that will help them achieve their needs. But when you're talking to a realtor, you're telling stories that drive urgency and deliver obvious service to the buyer. So want to remind everybody, and Robert, how often do you put a video on your mortgage coach experience?
Lately I've started doing it with every video, so probably the past 3 or 4 TCAs I've sent out, I've put a video on.
Eric, what about you? How often are you putting a video on your TCAs?
Only when I want to have influence over a client.
So is that like every time?
Usually, yes.
Yeah. All right. What about you, Derek?
Every time, every single time.
Yeah. So, I'd really be curious, and, if anybody can add a survey question, I'd like to know how many people at this point are putting a video on their mortgage coach report. I want to know just where we're at on that. And by the way, if you're not, I would love to know why not. In the Q&A part of the GoToMeeting, put why aren't you attaching an audio or a video so you have that influence. So again, reminder, make sure you're having this mobile conversation. Make sure you're sharing it. Click the share button, text it, email it. Make sure that they're walking away with your advice in their back pocket. And to the point Robert made earlier, terms change at 10 o'clock at night. He was able to update that, text them, boom, live. They've got the mobile app. They know exactly what happened in the market. So Dan, anything you want to add at this point? Any questions, Robert?
That happens more than, I'm glad to hear you say that, Robert. That happens more than we know, where you've sent out a TCA, there's negotiations, they reach mutual, but it's escalated at $20,000, and you and I go in there and we take 45 seconds to log in, change the purchase price, save it, email it, and they think that we just generated a new report at 10:30. So we look like the heroes, and it's I took 2 minutes out of we did it on a commercial while I was watching TV with my wife, right? So I agree with you. That's awesome. It's happening to you because it happens to me often.
Yeah, Eric, any questions you have or anything you want to add at this point?
I wanted to comment to Robert. Well done in terms of using 4% for the investment return over time. You didn't try to oversell that and lose your credibility with the family that you're trying to become a trusted advisor to. And especially in a rent versus own, when the real value is no longer flushing the dollars down the toilet with the rent and building equity. I mean, those are the big numbers. But you can lose a client by saying, hey, and if you put this money over here and it gets 8% rate of return or 10, it's just like the old days. That's what happened 5, 10, 15 years ago, and I even made that mistake multiple times. And because you could get returns like that, but it got people in trouble. So having it conservative and clean and concise like that is really well done.
Cool. Thank you.
Eric, I'm going to bring you in a few minutes. I just want to remind everybody what it is that Robert's doing. This is his mobile advice. He's pulling it out while he's telling a story. He's clicking, By the way, how many buttons do you think you click when you're showing it, and how often do you zoom in?
When I'm using the app?
Yeah.
I try and touch on the main points that people are mostly interested in, which are their payment, their cash to close, purchase price, just to kind of give them a snapshot if I'm sitting right there with them. So I'll click on the net monthly payments, I'll zoom in, I'll show them the difference between their principal and interest and then their fully indexed payment. I'll go into the rent versus own and just show them, over 15 years or whatnot, how much they're going to throw away if they're still renting versus if they choose to purchase with me and a great real estate team. I always try and cross-sell the realtor when I'm using Mortgage Coach too, especially in the videos. It's a good thing to do.
Right on. So I recommend at least 3 moves. Clicking, summary, zooming in, getting to a graph, boom, getting to a graph, swiping back, and then again, always showing the cost over 5 years, whatever the scenario is. So just think of it as 3 moves: summary, zoom, go to a graph so they can see your graphs and charts, and then again click and show the cost over 5 years. So by the way, if everybody on this call, you could do that. I mean, literally pull out your mortgage coach device, go to your most recent scenario, and by the way, when you do it, don't click on it like this. That's not rehearsing a realtor conversation. A realtor conversation is when you're either holding it like this and you're walking through, or you've got it in front of yourself and you're pushing it. So practice how you would deliver the mobile experience while talking to someone. So it's storytelling around numbers and finances. Okay, so if everybody could do that. Dan, did you have something you wanted to jump in on?
No, I'm good. Same exact thing you're talking about. Summary and charts. The realtors especially want to see the savings. You're showing them some tools that are going to help convert borrowers to close transactions, and getting somebody to make a decision on renting versus owning with a chart and showing the total cost of renting versus owning is huge. That's exactly right.
Cool. So hey, I want to push another poll. See if we move the needle at all. If we got anybody that say you're not doing it, but you're going to start doing it. By the way, everybody, I would love to have 70% of everybody on this call vote right now. So right now we're at about 25% of you. That's 1 out of 4. So everybody vote. Are you, and again, be candid. If you saw this and you heard this and you're like, that's not for me, that's cool. By the way, I would like to know if it's not for you, why it's not for you. But everybody vote. Get me up to set. We're about 50% of you have voted. I'm 36 seconds into this. Let's get to 70% so we can move on with the meat of the call. So, by the way, someone's got a dog barking. If you could please put on mute. You hear that?
Sorry, that's in the office next to mine. I'll mute mine.
Oh yeah, just mute when you're not talking. That's cool though. It's great that you've got a dog-friendly office. I respect that. Just tell them, we've got a couple hundred people in mortgage coach land, and
Right.
Anyways, it's all good, Robert. So by the way, 90% said you're going to start doing it. So great job. Yes, really stoked about that. That was my goal of the call. So we're not done. We've got more to come. Robert, you're going to kind of transition from being, us interviewing you to we're going to bring in Dan Keller. Dan is going to talk about his from price to advice story for about 10 minutes, kind of encapsulate some of the things he's doing with realtors, and then we're going to close it out with Eric and talk about what he's doing. Sound good, guys?
Very good. Sounds good.
Dan's been on these calls I don't know how many times, so it's well known that Dan delivers mortgage coach to each and all of his clients. We started talking about how you're having the realtor conversation.
Yeah.
What are we looking at right now, and how are you having mobile conversations with realtors?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I do is I print off a slide deck, and I've shared that presentation with you. It's about 13 slides, and it's what I go through. Listen, when we meet up with a real estate agent, we're selling. I've got the appointment. Most of the time, it's a series of cold calls or follow-up calls to get that appointment. So I'm going for the home run. I'm going to get business, to earn their business and their trust, and to wow them. And so what I do is I've got a slide deck. I print it off in color, and
so by the way, that's important distinction. It's paper. So I've seen loan officers that have folders, paper. So he's got something old school and traditional in his hand. Great example of kind of traditional and digital.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure everybody connected.
Yeah, you got to. I think you still have to do that. I mean, I do a lot of direct mail, and direct mail is hot right now. So I don't care what anybody says. So anyways, I do that. I print off the packet. We go through that. But the really neat thing is they lead with it. But as you go through the packet, it's tech savvy. Everything I talk about in there is how we're communicating and how we've set up our business to make your life.
So like this is a slide. It's in the deck.
Yep, there's another slide. Yeah. That's it. Yep. So that's inside of that technology. And then I talk about mobile. I talk about my business and how so many of my clients are leveraging technology. And if they're not, normally I ask them open-ended questions, out of your business right now, how much of it comes from the internet, how much of it comes from referral, and that'll take me one of two ways. If it's old school referral, well then we start talking about other ways to connect and to stay connected, if they talk about, a lot of my business is from online leads or Zillow leads or from the internet, now I go straight into how Mortgage Coach Edge, getting the notifications, is probably the best way, the best converter in this marketplace. When a lead views a presentation, I get notified. I'm going to follow up with them. You're getting notified. I'm letting you know, hey, this customer followed up with me. So, not every presentation's canned. It'll take you one or two different ways.
Got it. So piece of paper, high-level overview. How long is that conversation?
Realtors have an attention span of an ant, right? They don't want to be sit there. They don't want to sit there and be sold the whole entire time. So, maybe 5 minutes, and then the slides. You guys, they're professionally designed. I've spent a lot of time and money putting this presentation together. The max that it typically will go is about 30 minutes. And then most of the time, it extends out to 45 minutes to an hour, and I'm fielding questions and asking a lot of open-ended questions about their business.
So let's talk about when do you bring in and you show them the mobile app, and you kind of integrate that into the conversation. How long is that mobile conversation?
It's a big part of my business, and so I tell them that, and it's early on. It's probably the 4th or 5th slide, and it has a lot to do with how I present my loan options. I use Mortgage Coach Edge. I don't use Mortgage Coach Edge to convert. I use Mortgage Coach Edge to open the door. Most of the time, it's a referral from a real estate agent or it's a lead. And what I do is I use this technology. It opens a door that either was closed or was just cracked. And it opens it up, and then, I'm always trying to learn and fine-tune my sales skills. I use my sales skills to close the deal.
Got it. But when you're showing, you're showing them on an iPhone,
yep.
And when you're actually showing it, and you're moving it, and you're telling a story. How long is that? Is that
30 seconds?
Okay,
30 to 45 seconds max. And then again, oh wow, if they're like, wow, this is crazy technology, I'll go further. If they're just nodding, going, oh, this is neat, 30 to 45 seconds.
So less than a minute. And I'm not here to, again, hear me loud and clear, everybody. It's not about the technology. It's about the strategy. And it's just about that unique touch. So in a very tailored way, if you just went in, oh, let me tell you about this great app I have, and you spent 5 to 10 minutes on this, they're just like, no, I want you to be a loan officer that closes loans on time.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking less than a minute, but what is the typical feedback of the realtors?
On the technology?
Yeah.
Well, it's how I present it. It's short, it's quick, it's concise, it's positive. It's like, wow. The realtors are sold. I read a stat the other day, and I don't know where I saw this or read this. It was from, like a Tom Ferry organization, some, big coach in the real estate community. But they said that real estate agents are the most sold on salespeople in America, meaning they're getting pitched more stuff than any other sales profession. And so I don't want the meeting to be me pitching me and me pitching products. I don't want to confuse them. I want to educate them and enlighten them that, hey, this is going to make you look good. And then I know one of your slides will show a total cost analysis that I do. When I'm working with leads or buyers, I always put home search, where you put the address and a total cost analysis, home search with Christian Awesome, home search with my real estate agent, the name of the real estate agent they're using. So every time they open it, right at the top in the center, it has their name. So I talk to the agent that, hey, I'm going to co-brand you until these guys get into escrow.
That's a good point. And Robert, I know you mentioned that. If you could, Robert, real quick, chime in. You know how when we were doing our prep call and you were showing me how you have the mobile conversation, you made a note to the realtor that we could co-brand this. Could you just speak to that and how that sounds when you're talking to realtors?
Absolutely. For the open house presentations, it's co-branded right on the front page. So when they walk into the open house, they see that, and that opens it up for another conversation as well. Part of the unique value proposition that Todd Duncan tells us to give to our realtors. A lot of realtors do not utilize technology well in an open house setting. So, my favorite one, the guy uses an iPad just like I have the iPad. They walk in, they sign in on Open Home Pro, and then they look at the mortgage coach, and then it generates a conversation. And then hopefully we can generate those prospects into clients. But that's an easy way to get them in the door. So yeah, I co-brand it. I also set the alert so that when my clients view it, the realtor gets an email.
You do that?
No.
So by the way, everybody.
Like I said, always cross-selling the realtor in the video as well.
Yeah. So again, notes everybody, cross-sell realtor. I know you know that. Educate and train your realtors about the alerts. So if you don't know how to do that, come to Thursday's call at 9 o'clock Pacific. We will focus on how to create a co-branded mortgage coach experience and how to make it so that the realtor gets an alert when the buyer looks at it. So again, from a speed to lead perspective, you're coming to the realtor and you're saying, look, speed to lead. We're going to make sure you know what's happening. All right, guys. So Eric, anything that you want to ask Dan, or anything you want to add to it?
Sure. I think it's a great tool to be unique and different to a realtor. I wanted to share a little bit how I've used it, where I try to focus on who's the listing agent in my transaction that I'm performing in front of. And at the end, you set up in the beginning, then at the end, you've now earned the right to have a conversation with them. And so then when I sit down with them, I'll send them an email of a video TCA used not on this transaction for confidentiality purposes, but for a different one. And then when we meet in their office, I'll have them bring it up on their computer, their home court, in a biggest screen as possible, so the colors and the graphs just pop. And I say, there's always what's going on under the surface. You see the tip of the iceberg of, yes, this was a really smooth transaction, and it was successful, and here we are sitting because you really enjoyed that, being the listing agent, because I'm your commission insurance. Here's how we do it. Here's how we integrate and work together to deliver that kind of experience for a family. And so it pops. I'll let the video pop on when we launch it, and then I'll just sit back and shut up. And then I'll watch the realtor's expressions and just see he or she glow, and then I know I got the wow. And then we'll go ahead and pause and then go straight to, would you like to have this kind of experience with the families you're serving? And go like this.
That's solid. I mean, that's everybody, you make note of that. That was different than the way these two are doing it, even different than the way I was evangelizing it, but to actually take them through a borrower experience and then go, would you like it if your folks got that?
Yeah.
That's powerful. Any comments?
Well, yeah, it's like what we've all learned from Todd Duncan, too. When you call up a real estate professional, and they're like, oh, I just do listings. Great, I love listing agents. And, well, we don't really use lenders. Well, great. Well, in today's market, when you list homes, what are the homeowners doing? They're most likely relocating and purchasing another home. So what better technology to use than to do a move-up analysis with total cost, or with a TC Edge. So, yeah, MC Edge.
It's all about the strategy, and again, it's all about giving something of tangible value. I want to give them a move-up total cost analysis. I want to give them a rent versus own total cost analysis. In Dan's scenario, he did a total cost analysis around condo versus single-family residence. So, by the way, I want to shout that out to everybody. If you could, what are the mortgage coach strategies that are valuable to realtors that you're doing most often? Dan, you were telling me how that condo versus single family was a real big thing for the realtors.
Yeah,
Why?
Buying power, purchasing power. So I got asked to, the really neat thing is I got asked to speak at a homebuyer class. Just as a guest, I wasn't putting this one on. It was just come in and talk for a few minutes on mortgage. And so I put together a little presentation, and all I did was basically show a few loan options. And then the last column was, what if one of your clients wanted to purchase a townhome with HOA dues? Well, here's the difference in purchasing power, keeping the monthly payment the same. And it opened up, just how it was presented, so simple, it opened up a bunch of eyes. Agents loved it. Clients were like, I had no idea. I had no idea it affected my purchasing power.
Cool. So Eric, you're up to bat in about 3 minutes. Dan, real quick, just a few minutes. I know you're getting ready to do a workshop with realtors on TILA preparation.
Yeah.
Preparation for integrated disclosures. I know the big news is that's being presented to them is it's going to delay closings by 15 days. One, just give us 3 minutes on what you're doing, and then describe what this slide's all about.
Yeah, well, I mean, as a mortgage originator, if you're not getting dialed in on CFPB and these TILA, these changes, it's going to be the biggest changes that's impacted our business. I got in the industry in 2009. certainly the biggest change that I've seen in my short career. Get the message out to your agents. I did a video, threw it on Facebook the other day. I'm over 7,000 views in less than a week. What? Go look it up. It's insane. It's getting viewed.
7,000?
Over 7. That was on Friday. I had 7,000 views. I shared it at a Realtor Lunch and Learn on CFPB. So, listen, it's catching people's attention. NAR's talking about it. Inman's talking about it. Run with that. Run with that negative news. We're not making it up. NAR's saying they're advising their real estate professionals to add 15 days to a traditional closing. So position yourself. This is a slide that you're showing right now of how I use this in a CFPB lunch and learn I did on Friday. We're already showing a 5-year total cost. We're already prepared for these changes and how we educate our customers. It's business as usual for us. So I think it's huge, but I think it's something that we need to be out in the marketplace sharing.
So folks, I mean, obviously we've been talking about that for a long time from a lender's standpoint, but it's really hit the radar in the past few weeks with realtors. You know, NAR is saying it's going to be a 15-day delay or a potential 15-day delay. And so to Dan's point, it really is an opportunity for you to say, hey, I'm on it, and here's an example of how we're on it and why we're on it. So do bring that into Lunch and Learns, you know, action item for every mortgage coach on the call. First of all, get a good conversation. You know, understand what you want to say, how you're going to say it. I know Dan and I are going to go through his deck after this call, and he's preparing. How many realtors do you have coming to it?
Hopefully we're shooting for 18 to 25. I do it at a brewery, so we can hold up to 30, but any more than 15 is a good show.
So you're doing this when, Friday?
Friday. Mm-hmm.
So he's going to have 15 realtors, Lunch and Learn on Friday, and he's going to be delivering value. And so if you're not doing that, if you don't have that on your to-do list, let's get it on your to-do list. Eric, anything you want to add? I see you might want to jump in on something here.
No, just preparing for my next segment.
All right, cool. All right, well, let's really go deep, Eric. I love what you shared in terms of the strategy on how you're touching realtors, pulling up the big screen. Don't necessarily want to do a repeat on that, but in the context of how you, I mean, mortgage coach, everybody that you want to influence is already getting this video. What are you doing? And then after hearing what Dan and Robert are doing, did it change you, or are you going to do anything different going forward?
This old dog is going to learn a new trick.
Yeah, right on, right on.
Yeah, I've been very focused on using Mortgage Coach as the platform to deliver the solution to the pain that families are feeling. So it's always, and it's the big build up to the pinnacle of, okay, you come to me for advice and guidance, not for a rate quote. We do a lot of diagnosing and detailing out, and then this is the delivery. And it's done with the video, and the video always pops. And they just go, wow. I had a longtime friend of mine growing up in La Jolla, and he was referred to me through my brother, and he was looking to buy a home in Solana Beach, and it was a high-priced home, and he had already gotten 4 or 5 different quotes and from other competitors, and he got the 30-year fix leaned down really tight. And then he's going, so what can you do, Eric? And so at the end, I delivered this Mortgage Coach presentation. The video pops. I hear it, and I always I get the client on the line if they're not going to come into the office, and I'll say, okay, I just sent you and your wife a link. Go ahead and open it up. And then they'll open it up, and I just sit there and wait and smile and let that video come on. I can hear the video right through the phone line, and then I usually hear a giggle or a oh or a ooh or something like that. Let it play out, and I've summarized in a minute or two why they should go this route, and they just and I continue to shut up, because then they'll inevitably, whoever speaks first loses. If you're talking sales strategy, they'll say, wow, that was really cool. Well, thank you. Doing what's best for you is really important to me. Can you identify with what was shared there? And then you just go right into the momentum that the whole video and this elegant presentation puts you in. So you're in the sweet spot. I wanted to jump back to that other illustration with the realtor partner, the listing agent. So again, the same theme is coming through where you let the video come on, you see their expression and the impact of it, and then as it seeps in and you see them, okay, maybe it's 5-10 seconds or maybe longer, you want to then pause the video, go for the close it. How can you see the families you serve wanting this type of experience, and what would that do for you in your relationship with them, and get that positive tie down with them. Then once you do that, try to get away from the meat of the recommendation and all of that, unless they're analytical and you really got to go that route. But you bring it back to, my branding is all about serving families. 78% of the people polled in America said that of all their concerns on the top of their mind, finances is at the very top, 78% of the people out there. So if that's true, then you and I combining as a partnership to serve these financially stressed families and marriages is huge. We have a great opportunity here because we're dealing with their biggest purchase, their biggest debt. And did you know something? The decisions they make there impact the top 2 line items on their spending plan, their annual spend. And what are they? And I always ask that question because they'll go from just kind of listening and being entertained to having to think. And 9 times out of 10, they can't figure out what the top line item on the budget is. They think it's housing costs. No, it's income taxes. And so that's another way to drill down and engage them in this partnership. And then we move on to, okay, advice and guidance is the name of the game. I use technology to get their attention and to wow them, but you can't have that as itself. You have to back it up with being an expert and giving great advice and guidance and doing over and above. So if I can spend just a minute on what I would encourage everybody to think about in their mortgage practice to go over and above, here's what I do. I ask people, do you have a spending plan? And they'll go, huh? A budget. Have you ever done a budget? And it's a big negative. Oh, yeah. Okay. And then how much time do you spend a month managing to that spending plan? Well, I used to, track every little thing. I want to teach you how to do it in 5 seconds once a month. And then if you're not on plan, I want to teach you how to get it in 30 seconds to figure out where you went off. Would that be valuable to you? And then another one is, do you give or do you tithe when you're talking about their longer-term financial goals? And I always ask with tithing first, and if they go, huh, what's that? Then I'll go giving. Do you give money away expecting nothing in return? And then talk for a while on the importance of that and how it loosens this materialistic stress that stresses out families. And then we go into, okay, do you have a long-term financial safety plan, path that you follow? And if they don't, and most people don't, unless they have a financial planner and a plan already written, then I'll share with them a quick, simple one to follow. So I'm hitting all 4 of those. Do you have a spending plan? Can you figure it out and manage it in 5 seconds a month to 30 seconds? Do you have a plan for giving and tithing? And then do you have an overall financial plan and safety plan? And so if my belief is, and why I'm on this call, is if we are doing that extra as their trusted advisor on the biggest financial decisions they make, you will have a relationship for life, and you will provide value to families and marriages. And I want to wrap up by saying it was in 1999 that I met Dave Savage at Todd Duncan's, one of his sales mastery events. I was doing these financial projections, because that was my background prior to getting into this business, all on Excel, and working until about 7:30 at night, coming home to my wife and beginning of a family, going, man, it was another long day, but it was a good one. I think we were taking some ground here. And then I met Dave, and I saw how elegant this software is, and I'm just going, man, this is going to allow me to have hours more every night with my family, strengthen my marriage, strengthen my family. So Dave, thanks, bro. You made a huge difference in my life.
Well, it's been a win for both of us. Every time you come on a call, you've delivered a lot of value. I think you gave everybody something to think about in terms of, what does your borrower conversation sound like? And to me, the more loyalty you get, the more wow that you create, the more just tangible value, Eric. One question, when you were going through, do you have a spending plan? Do you review it? Do you give? I like to ask, how old do you want to be when your home is paid off? Or where paying off your home is just a strategic financial planning decision. And people are like, huh? Well, we want to be 60. Well, based on the loan that we're getting right now, or based on the loan that you have, how old are you going to be? Because it just creates a gap. Typically whatever they want to be and what they're really going to be, there's a 5 to 10 year gap. So, while we're kind of unpacking, and again, Eric, it's a reminder, you and I need to schedule you to be the featured guest and really go through a great, borrower conversation that serves a family. Your backstory and your commitment to helping families, not borrowers, make great decisions. It's pretty special. So we're going to do a whole call on that. So let me wrap some things up. Each of you are going to have a chance to either ask each other another question or share an insight. So both of you get ready. All three of you get ready. So I think it's fairly obvious and ubiquitous that everybody has a smartphone. And I think it's also pretty obvious that most home buyers, they're using smartphones to the tune of, 60 million plus people a month have the MLS in their back pocket, Trillia, Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin. And so I think it's clear and it's obvious as a mortgage industry, if this is what families are doing when they're out searching for homes, which, by the way, this is entertainment for a lot of families. They're just watching TV and they're looking at homes at the same time. Then when they go into an open house, this is not what they get. That is what average LOs do. This is what mortgage coach loan officers do. We deliver a digital borrower educational experience. So everybody, hopefully we've raised the awareness around that. I have a great mortgage coach, Sean, was going to jump on the call. I'm going to bring him in a couple of days. He's got some great stories to tell. But it's just important that you take that digital experience and you start making sure you're showing it via mobile with all of your realtors. Until you've created that, call it that mobile wow with your realtor, just realize there's another check. I may have a great realtor relationship. If they really knew how to do this, they'd want to refer the business to me even more. And by the way, if you got them addicted to actually checking, the video themselves as an efficiency tool, they're now going to be even more loyal to you. And now there's even a greater reason to refer to you because their other loan officers aren't doing that. You're easier to work with, and it's a better borrower experience. So, delivering digital experiences and showcasing digital experiences is what this call is all about. Because at the end of the day, there's a traditional side of our business, and there's a digital side, and no doubt there's a balance. I love your balance. You're bringing paper, and you're bringing mobile. That's traditional, and that's digital value, and we needed to be doing that at the front end. So again, going from price to advice, and doing it in a very intentional way. So again, I'm going to be continuing this educational piece. My goal is that every realtor, that every mortgage coach on this call works with, you're teaching them how to drive digital value at the open houses, and you're being very intentional around this traditional. What am I doing in traditional land? We're not saying it's bad. We're not saying get away from it. We're just saying have some balance and some intentionality, and we're having some intentionality around just being unique and deliver personal value. So Robert, I'll let you go first. Closing thoughts. Any questions or comments from you?
Robert, I learned a lot during this call. Am I muted?
We hear you now.
I learned a lot during this call. It's really cool to be able to use something like Mortgage Coach. It makes you look like a really good professional when you can pull out a presentation like that. But again, I'm always looking for ways to advance my business and my knowledge. Eric, I liked what you talked about when you sit your clients down. You ask them what their financial plan is, what their budget is. I especially like the part where you say, you ask them, do you tithe or do you give, expecting nothing in return? And it's kind of a humbling question. Really probably breaks down some walls, and I can see how you really build people's trust by getting in there and helping them look at their long-term financial plan. So I'm definitely going to start using those tools. So I mean, thanks for that, and I'm going to start looking at some good ways to do what Dan Keller's doing as well with realtor presentations and the slideshows he's creating. So definitely some solid takeaways for me today. Really enjoyed this call. Thank you.
Right. So thank you, Robert. And Eric, you're next. Everybody, I did push a poll question. Let us know what you thought of today's call on a scale of good to great. If you're a guest to the call and you want to learn more about Mortgage Coach, the bottom option, I'd like a demo. Please click on that. But Eric, any questions or comments as we go into wrap-up mode?
Sure. I just want to commend everybody who invested the last hour on this call because they want to get better, to think long and hard about, do you want a transactional business or do you want a relational business? And if you want the relationship, then spend 5 minutes after this call ends and write down exactly how you're going to develop your skills in the mobile applications, as well as providing advice above and beyond what everybody else is doing. And good luck with your practices, and have a major impact on the families you serve.
All right, Dan Keller, you'll have 1 minute, just 1 second before you do. I do want to remind everybody these calls are every Tuesday. Next week, do not miss the scripts and systems calls with the Gaylord Hansen team, a top team doing over $100 million in production out of San Diego. So great call. Big thanks to all three of you guys. Really appreciate you. And Dan Keller will give you the final thoughts on, one, how to be a great teacher, and two, how to be a great modern mortgage professional.
Yeah, I mean, right now I'm hosting 2 lunch and learns monthly. One is on CFPB, and the other is on marketing and selling to millennials. And you know, in putting together those presentations with the assistance of obviously Dave and some of the guests you've had on, but with Kristen Mazzarelli and Ann Lauer, you know, the thing that I've heard both of them talk about, and this is what I present to my realtors when I'm hosting these lunch and learns, is, you know, don't freeze up and give up on, you know, being more tech savvy. Because here's the thing, both Ann and Kristen say millennials aren't looking to do business with millennials. They're looking to do business with an expert. And so Mortgage Coach Edge helps position you as an educator, as an expert. And if you're not a millennial like Robert or like myself, so what? Learn the stuff, get it, and present it. And by using this, be presented as an expert.
Right on. And Robert, being the millennial on the call, I am going to give you one last jump. Anything you want to add as we wrap up today's call?
You know, I just think that having tools like Mortgage Coach really makes you look like an expert. And Dan, you're totally right. I mean, they don't want to work with millennials; they want to work with experts. And you know, I realized kind of this one day. I went to an open house and I dressed way down, really casual. Some guys came in, some young people, really connected with them, pulled out Mortgage Coach, and they were just super impressed. Referred those people to realtors. I mean, get business. I mean, just a really good way to brand myself, come across as, you know, an expert in the field, despite that I look like I'm in high school. So.
Right on, yeah. Guy. Well, hey, man, thanks, everybody, for the great call. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. Hopefully, if you need any technical help or advice, come to our Thursday call. We'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.